السلام على من لا نبي بعد نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اقتفى أثره واستنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين. Inshallah, we'll continue with reading from the book Al-Musannaf li Abi Bakr Abdullah ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Shayba rahimahullah ta'ala, who died in the year 235 after the Hijrah. And we've reached the chapter that is entitled Man kana yatawadda'u idha ihtajam, those who used to make wudu after hijamah. Right? What has been narrated regarding the people who would see it as necessary to make wudu after making hijamah. And hijamah is that action that they call in English cupping, where an individual takes a needle and pricks small holes into their body in various locations. And various locations serve different purposes. And then they take a fire source and ignite it on fire and then extinguish it on that source with a cup attached to it that causes a vacuum. And then that vacuum, it sucks out the old and I don't know if it's called dirty, but it sucks out the old blood from that particular limb by way of that wound. And it has a medical remedy or a medical benefit attached to it in the view of most. And this is something that the Prophet ﷺ would do and encourage that it be done. And so this action in Arabic, it is called hijaamah, or cupping in English. And so this chapter is regarding those who used to say that it is necessary to take a wudu if you get cupped. If you get a hijamah done, it is necessary for you to get wudu. And we want to make sure that it's clear because there's other topics as well. But we're talking about the one who gets the hijamah done. The verifier, Sheikh Al-Shithri, Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he said that قال أبو حنيفة وأحمد ينتقض الوضوء بالحجامة إذا كان الدم الخارج كثيرا، وقال مالك والشافعي لا ينتقض به الوضوء وهذا القول أرجح. Sheikh Al-Shithri, Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he says that Abu Hanifa and Ahmed, they are of their statement was that a wudu is nullified by way of hijamah if the blood that exits is abundant. If the blood that is extracted by way of hijamah is a lot, then the wudu is nullified. He says, and Malik and Shafi'i, they say that the wudu is not nullified by way of hijamah. The wudu is not nullified. And Sheikh Al-Shithri, he says that this is the more preponderant or the stronger or the heavier statement. This is the more accurate statement, according to Sheikh Al-Shithri, Hafidhullah Ta'ala. But let us look and see what the Salaf from the Sahaba and the Tabi'een and the Atba' Tabi'een, what their views were in this issue. So he says, Yani Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shayba, he says, حدثنا بن نمير قال أخبرنا عبيد الله عن نافع عن ابن عمر رضي الله تعالى عنهما أنه كان إذا احتجم غسل أثر محاجمه. He says that Ibn Numayr narrated to us, he said that Ubaydullah informed us on the authority of Nafi', on the authority of Ibn Umar, that Ibn Umar, when he would get hijamah, he would wash the traces or the places that he got hijamah done. He would wash the places where the hijamah was done. So if he got hijamah on his back, on his scalp, on his leg, on his arm, he would wash the places where the hijamah was done. But it doesn't state that he would make a wudu. And so this is an opinion of Ibn Umar that it does not necessitate making a wudu. Abu Bakr, he says, حدثنا أبو الأحوص عن أبي إسحاق عن إبراهيم قال كان علقمة والأسود لا يغتسلان من الحجامة. He says that Abu al-Ahwas narrated to us on the authority of Abi Ishaq, on the authority of Ibrahim, and Ibrahim al-Nakha'i. He said that Alqamah, Alqamah ibn Qais al-Nakha'i, he said that Alqamah as well as Al-Aswad, the Aswad ibn Yazid al-Nakha'i, right, two of the major students of Ibn Mas'ud, he said that the two of them would not bathe or would not wash, should I say, they would not wash after doing a hijamah, right? They would not wash after doing a hijamah, and if they would not wash, then it's obvious that they would not make any wudu. So he says that Al-Qama and Al-Aswad, they would not wash after performing a hijamah or after getting a hijamah done. Abu Bakr, he says, حدثنا أبو بكر بن عياش عن مغيرة عن إبراهيم أنه كان يغسل أثر المحاجم. He says that Abu Bakr ibn Ayyash, he narrated to us on the authority of Mughira, on the authority of Ibrahim, yani Ibrahim al-Nakha'i. So Mughira, he said about Ibrahim that Ibrahim, would not wash, or he would wash off the traces of the hijamah. He would wash off the places that he got hijamah done. Ibrahim al-Nakha'i, he used to wash the places where the hijamah was done. He says, حدثنا حفص بن أشعث أن الحسن وابن سيرين أنهما كان يقولان اغسل أثر المحاجم. He says that Hafs narrated to us on the authority of Ash'ath, on the authority of Al-Hasan, as well as Ibn Sirin. The two of them, they used to say, wash the traces of the hijamah. Wash the places where you got the hijamah done at. And so, even if they're saying it's not necessary to make a wudu in these statements that we've read so far, the statement of Ibn Umar, Ibrahim al-Nakha'i, Al-Hasan, and Ibn Sirin, they're showing us that you should wash that area because they would say that the blood is najis. And so it needs to be washed off of the body. You can't leave those traces where the blood has prickled up and congealed up. You have to wash it off. As opposed to the statement of Al-Qama and Al-Aswad, the two of them, they wouldn't even wash after a hijamah. They would just go on about their business. And so that's something to understand. Is the blood, does it have to be washed off? Do you have to perform a wudu? Or is it just okay to just continue about your day? Abu Bakr, he says, حدثنا إدريس and Hisham, or حدثنا Ibn Idris and Hisham and Al-Hasan wa Muhammad. قال كان يقولان في الرجل يحتجم يتوضأ ويغسل أثر المحاجم. So here we have another narration. He says that Ibn Idris, he narrated to us on the authority of Hisham, on the authority of Al-Hasan as well as Muhammad. And here we have Al-Hasan and Muhammad, yani Ibn Sirin again. The previous narration, they said, wash the traces of the hijamah. But in this narration, it is reported that the two of them, they used to say regarding a man who gets hijamah done, that he should make wudu and he should wash the traces of the hijamah off. So in this second statement of theirs, they're saying that the individual should make wudu and wash off the places where the hijamah was done. Abu Bakr, he says, حدثنا عبد الأعلى أن برد أن مكحول أنه كان لا يرى بأسا إذا احتجم أن لا يغتسل ولا يغسل أثر محاجمه إلا أن يكون عليه دم إلا أن يكون عليها دم. Abu Bakr, he says that Abdul A'la narrated to us on the authority of Burd, on the authority of Makhul. Makhul, he used to not see any problem if a person got a hijamah done to not wash. Nor did they need to wash off the traces of the hijamah unless there was blood on them. So Makhul, he didn't consider the hijamah itself to be something that nullified the wudu, nor did he consider the area needing to be washed if there was no trace of the blood on it. And so this is where the issue, this is where the disagreement hinges on. And we'll see more about this when we get to this topic in Al-Awsat. Is the hijamah, the action of it, is it something that nullifies the wudu or not? Right? But here from the statement of Makhul, he would say the action, it doesn't require any bathing. It doesn't require any washing because of it. There's no need to wash because of the hijamah. And you don't even need to wash the area that you got the hijamah done unless there is blood still there. And so this shows us that Makhul, he would consider the blood najis, and so you should wash the blood off. Abu Bakr, he says, حدثنا عبد الأعلى and Yunus and Al-Hasan سئل عن الرجل يحتجم ماذا عليه قال يغسل أثر محاجمه أو أثر محاجمه. He said that Abdul A'la narrated to us on the authority of Yunus, on the authority of Al-Hasan, yani Hasan al-Basri, who was asked about a man who gets a hijama done, what is necessary for him to do. Al-Hasan, he said he should wash the places or the traces of where the hijama was done. He should wash off the places where the hijama was done. Abu Bakr, he says, حدثنا وكيع عن إسماعيل عن أبي عمرو عن ابن الحنفية قال يغسل أثر المحاجم. Abu Bakr said that Waki' narrated to us on the authority of Ismail, on the authority of Abi Amr, on the authority of Ibn al-Hanafiyyah, who said, Ibn al-Hanafiyyah, Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah, a famous scholar from the people of the family of the Prophet ﷺ, he said that the individual should wash the traces of where the hijama was done. He should wash off the traces of where the hijama was done. Abu Bakr, he says, حدثنا الفضل بن الدكين عن إسرائيل عن جابر عن سالم والقاسم وعامر والطاووس قلت اغتسل أو أغتسل من الحجامة قالوا لا قال أبو جعفر اغسل أثر المحاجم. He said that Fadl ibn Dukayn narrated to us on the authority of Israel, on the authority of Jabir, on the authority of Salim, yani Salim ibn Abdullah, as well as Al-Qasim, yani Qasim ibn Muhammad, as well as Amir, if I'm not mistaken, Amir ibn al-Sha'bi, as well as Tawus. Right? All of these are from the prominent tabi'een. He said to them, yani Jabir, he said to them, and Allah knows best, this is Jabir ibn Zayd. He said to them, should I wash or should I bathe? Right? This word ikhtasal, right? Should I bathe after getting a hijama done? And we're going to see that some scholars would even say you should bathe after a hijama. Right? So we got some scholars say you don't have to do anything. Some scholars say you should wash the traces of the hijama. Some scholars say you should make wudu. And then there were some scholars who say you should bathe after getting hijama. So Jabir, he's asking these individuals, should I bathe after getting a hijama? To which they all said no. And Abu Ja'far, he said you should wash the traces where the hijama was done. Abu Bakr, he says, حدثنا أبو قبيسة عن هشام بن عروة عن أبيه أنه قال كان يحتجم فيغسل أثر المحاجم ثم يتوضأ وضوءه للصلاة فيصلي. Abu Qabisa, he narrated to us on the authority of Hisham, on the authority of Hisham ibn Urwa, on the authority of his father. He said, i.e. about his father, that he used to make a hijama, and then he would wash off the traces of where the hijama was done, and he would make a wudu, the same wudu that he would make for salat, and then he would offer salat. So this is Urwa ibn Zubair, who would make a wudu after washing the places where the hijama was done. He says, حدثنا معن بن عيسى and Muhammad ibn Abdul Rahman ibn al-Mujbir, or Mujabbar, right, from what we had last time, al-Mujabbar, and Abdul Rahman ibn al-Qasim, and al-Qasim كان يمسح أثر المحاجم بالماء. He said that Ma'an ibn Isa narrated to us on the authority of Muhammad ibn Abdul Rahman ibn al-Mujabbar, on the authority of Abdul Rahman ibn al-Qasim, that al-Qasim, yani his father, al-Qasim ibn Muhammad, he used to wipe over the traces of the hijama with water. And so these are some of the different statements regarding this. Nothing, like al-Qama and al-Aswad. Wipe the traces with water, like al-Qasim. Wash the areas with water, right? Wash the areas with water. And likewise, we have, like Ibn Umar, likewise, we have make a wudu. And also we have performing a ghusl. And the ghusl, we'll see in this next chapter, Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shayba, he says, Man qala alayhi al-ghusl. Right, those are the people who said you needed to wash or make wudu. This next chapter, chapter 54, those who say that upon this individual is to perform a ghusl. Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shayba, he says, حدثنا جرير and Mughira and Al-Musayyib ibn Rafi' and Ibn Abbas رضي الله تعالى عنه أنه قال الغسل من الحجامة. He says that Jarir narrated to us on the authority of Mughira, on the authority of Al-Musayyab, the son of Rafi', on the authority of Ibn Abbas, who said Al-Ghusl is necessary because of Al-Hijaamah. If you make a Hijaamah, you have to take a Ghusl. This is the statement of Ibn Abbas. Now, Abu Bakr, he says, حدثنا وكيع عن الأعمش عن مجاهد عن عبد الله بن عمر قال اغتسل من الحجامة. He says that Waki' narrated to us on the authority of Al-A'mash, on the authority of Mujahid, on the authority of Abdullah ibn Amr, yani Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, Sahabi, one of the four Abadila, along with Ibn Abbas. He said, take a bath because of Hijaamah. You need to bathe because of Hijaamah. Ightasil min al-Hijaamah. You need to bathe because of Hijaamah. And this is why I'm going back. This statement that we mentioned on Al-Qama and Al-Aswad, it says لا يغتسلان من الحجامة. They would not wash because of hijama. It's possible to carry that statement on. They would not bathe because of hijama. And if that's the case, then there's no proof in that statement, if there was proof at all, that they wouldn't wash or make wudu. And so this could be a narration that is being brought from the aspect of Al-Qama or Al-Qama and Al-Aswad would not bathe because of hijama, and it does not necessarily necessitate that they wouldn't wash or make wudu because of hijama. And when we look at Ibrahim, their student, we see that he would wash the places that were the hijama was done. Naam, I just wanted to clarify that. Naam, so, but as far as the chapter we're in, we mentioned the narration of Waki' on Al-A'mash, on Mujahid, on the authority of Abdullah ibn Amr, who said a ghusl, yani a person needs to bathe because of al-hijama. A person needs to bathe after taking a hijama. He says, حدثنا وكيع عن شعبة عن الحكم قال احتجم عندي إبراهيم ومجاهد فاغتسل مجاهد وغسل إبراهيم موضع المحاجم. I like this narration. He says that Waki' narrated to us on the authority of Shu'bah, on the authority of Al-Hakam. Al-Hakam, he said that Ibrahim and Mujahid both got hijama done with me. Right? They were both with me when they got hijama done. Whether he was the one doing it or it was in his presence when it was done. He says, so Mujahid bathed afterwards, while Ibrahim washed off the places where the hijama was done. So this shows us that comparison between these two madhabs, Mujahid being the narrator on Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, while Ibrahim being the narrator on Al-Qama and Al-Aswad, who would not bathe. And so you see how the student is impacted by his teacher. Abu Bakr, he says, حدثنا المحاربي عن ليث عن مجاهد عن علي رضي الله تعالى عنه في الرجل يحتجم أو يحلق عانته أو ينتف إبطه قال يغتسل. He says that Muharibi narrated to us on the authority of Layth, on the authority of Mujahid, on the authority of Ali. Here we have Ali ibn Abi Talib. This goes against, I'm trying to say, supporting the statement of Ibn Abbas and the statement of Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As. Ali, he said, regarding a person who gets a hijama done, or the person who shaves his pubic area or plucks his underarm hair, that they should bathe. If a person shaves their pubes or plucks their underarm or gets a hijama done, then they should bathe. This is the statement of Ali radiyallahu ta'ala an. Abu Bakr, he says, حدثنا محمد بن بشر قال حدثنا زكريا عن مصعب بن شيبة عن طلق بن حبيب عن عبد الله بن الزبير أن عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنهم حدثته أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال يغتسل من الحجامة. So this narration is interesting. He says that Muhammad ibn Bishr, he narrated to us, he said that Zakaria narrated to us on the authority of Mus'ab ibn Shaybah, on the authority of Talq ibn Habib, on the authority of Abdullah ibn Zubair, who said that Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha, she narrated to him, and she was his aunt, his maternal aunt. He said that Aisha narrated to him radiyallahu ta'ala anhum that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said a bath should be taken because of hijamah. A bath should be taken because of hijamah. So if this narration were authentic, it would be a decisive matter and a decisive statement in the affair. But as we see, the salaf, they disagreed in it. And so in this hadith has been ruled da'if. It's reported by Ahmed and Abu Dawood and Ibn Khuzaymah and Daraqutni and Al-Hakim and Al-Uqayli and Al-Bayhaqi. And so it's something that can be considered and looked at, right? Ibn Khuzaymah and Al-Hakim, they both considered it to be authentic. And Abu Dawood would have considered it to be the most authentic thing in the topic. And so this hadith should be one that's researched. Obviously, they say the point of weakness is because of Mus'ab ibn Shaybah. Let's take an example of what we do when it comes time to research a hadith, right? So we have Muhammad ibn Bishr, and he's reliable. Muhammad ibn Bishr, let's see who he is. And we'll go through the whole chain very quickly, inshallah. Muhammad ibn Bishr. This is what we are training ourselves to do when we look at those biographies and understand them. So let's see. We'll take the same book that we're doing, Tahdhib al-Tahdhib. Muhammad ibn Bishr ibn Bashir ibn Ma'bad al-Aslami al-Kufi. And his grandfather Bashir was a Sahabi. So Muhammad ibn Bishr ibn Bashir was the grandson of a Sahabi. You can find his hadith in Nasa'i. He reported on his father, Bishr, as well as Ash'ath ibn Abi Sha'tha, as well as Iyas ibn Salama ibn al-Akwa', as well as Abdul Aziz ibn Abdul Hakim al-Hadrami, and Muhammad ibn Amir and Yazid ibn Alaqa. And the people who narrated on him were Ibn al-Mubarak and Talq ibn al-Ghannam and Abu Ahmad al-Zubayri and Abu Asim. Ibn Hibban mentioned him amongst the Thiqat, and in Nasa'i, he narrates a hadith of his from the pathway of Ash'ath on the authority of Aswad on the authority of Aisha, where she said that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he took something in his hand, in his right hand, the hadith. And then Daraqutni said about Muhammad ibn Bishr, Lam yutabi' Muhammad alayh. Yani Muhammad had no support in this hadith, and that which is more known is the version of Shu'bah on the authority of Ash'ath, on the authority of his father, on the authority of Masruq, on the authority of Aisha. And so here, for this reason, we see that Ibn Hajar, he says about him in Taqrib, Muhammad ibn Bishr ibn Bashir with a Fatah al-Aslami al-Kufi was somebody who was Saduq. He was somebody who was Saduq. The question is it the same Muhammad ibn Bashir al-Abdi Abu Abdullah al-Kufi thiqatun hafiz? And that makes more sense. That this is a different Muhammad ibn Bishr. The actual Muhammad ibn Bishr that it is Muhammad ibn Bishr ibn Furafidah ibn al-Mukhtar al-Hafiz al-Abdi Abu Abdullah al-Kufi. Right, that's who it is. Abu Abdullah al-Kufi. His hadith can be found in all 6 books. Naam. And the reason we know it's him, because when we look at the people who narrated on him, you have people like Ali ibn al-Madini and Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah, which wasn't the case for Muhammad ibn Bishr ibn Bashir ibn Ma'bad. Naam, he was from a different level of generation. So Muhammad ibn Bishr ibn Furafidah ibn al-Mukhtar al-Hafiz. Right, that's enough. We know that he's reliable. And he narrated on Zakaria. So we want to see who was his teachers that were named Zakaria. We see from his teachers there was Zakaria ibn Abi Za'idah. Zakaria ibn Abi Za'idah. And Zakaria ibn Abi Za'idah, Zakaria ibn Abi Za'idah. Zakaria. Oh. Back. I'm just interested about this hadith, so I wanted to research it now while it's in front of me. Zakaria ibn Ishaq, Zakaria ibn Khalid, Zakaria ibn Abi Za'idah, and Za'idah, his name was Khalid, or Abi Za'idah, his name was Khalid. Al-Hamdani, Al-Wadi'i, Abu Yahya al-Kufi, Akhu Umar ibn Abi Za'idah, wa Walidu Yahya ibn Zakaria ibn Abi Za'idah. He was a freed slave of Amr ibn Abdullah al-Wadi'i, wa yuqal Mawla Muhammad ibn al-Muntashir al-Hamdani. Imam Ahmed said about him, thiqatun hulul al-hadith. So we know that he was good, right? And like we said, we know that the only person that's going to be criticized is Mus'ab ibn Shaybah. Talq ibn Habib is a famous scholar, right? Mus'ab ibn Shaybah. Mus'ab ibn Shaybah ibn Jubair ibn Shaybah ibn Uthman ibn Abi Talha ibn Abd al-Uzza ibn Uthman ibn Abd al-Dar al-Qurashi al-Abdari al-Makki al-Hajabi. قال أبو بكر بن الأثرم قال أبو بكر الأثرم and Ahmed ibn Hanbal روى أحاديث مناكير. Imam Ahmed said that he reported very disapproved of hadith. Ishaq ibn Mansur, he said about him on the authority of Yahya ibn Ma'in that he was thiqa. So now we have Yahya ibn Ma'in approving him, but we have Imam Ahmed saying he narrated too many disapproved hadith. Abu Hatim, he said, لا يحمدونه ليس بقوي. Abu Hatim, he said they didn't used to praise him. He was not someone who was strong. Muhammad ibn Sa'd, he said he was very limited in his hadith. He had a small amount of hadith. An-Nasa'i, he said regarding him, قرأت بخطي مصعب منكر الحديث. An-Nasa'i, he said, I read in the handwriting I want to say Muhammad ibn Sa'd, that this individual was very disapproved of in hadith. And he said in another place, there is something wrong with his hadith, but you can find this person's hadith in all 6 books except Bukhari. So Muslim narrated hadith from him, as well as the other 4, everybody except Bukhari. Ibn Hajar, he adds about this person, Ad-Daraqutni, he said about him that he was not that strong, وَلَيْسَ وَلَا بِحَافِظ, nor was he a scholar of hadith. He narrates on Talq ibn Habib, on Abi Zubair, on Aisha, on the Prophet, and this should be Abdullah ibn Zubair, not Abi Zubair, on Ibn Zubair, on the Prophet ﷺ, on Aisha, on the Prophet, that he used to command her to take, that he used to command with a ghusl after hijabah, or after janaba and hijamah, and that he would command with a ghusl after washing a dead body, and on the day of Jumu'ah. Abu Dawood, he said after reporting this hadith that it was da'if. And he said that Ibn Adi takallamu fi hifdhihi wa qala ijli thiqa. So this individual, some of the people said he was okay, but the majority of them said he was weak. And so this hadith itself will be one that is clear in its weakness because of Mus'ab ibn Shaybah. And so that's interesting, right? Because this hadith is one that's not supported, even though the scholars would mention it in their books. The last hadith that he mentions, or the last author that he mentions, he says that حدثنا عبيد الله قال أخبرنا إسرائيل عن أبي إسحاق عن سعيد بن جبير عن ابن عباس رضي الله تعالى عنه أنه قال إذا احتجم الرجل فليغتسل ولم يره واجبا. And this is a beneficial narration. He says that Ubaydullah narrated to us. He said that Israel informed us on the authority of Abi Ishaq, on the authority of Sa'id ibn Jubair, on the authority of Ibn Abbas, who said that if a man does hijamah, then he must bathe. But he didn't see it to be something that was wajib. And so when we look at that, it gives us that balance, right? From the Abadila, we had people like Ibn Umar, who would just wash the traces that the hijamah was done on. But then we have Abdullah bin Abbas and Abdullah bin Amr bin al-As, and likewise even Abdullah bin Zubair from the other Abadila mentioning this narration where it would seem that you should bathe. And likewise the statement of Ali, where it would seem that you should bathe. And likewise this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where it shows that you have to bathe if it was authentic. But then you have this statement of Ibn Abbas clarifying that they would tell you to do it, but they didn't consider it to be wajib. And that's just a good benefit in understanding how the Salaf would approach these narrations, right? They heard about it, they considered it, and so some of them would say you should bathe after a hijamah. So if a person bathes after getting a hijamah, فَهُوَ مُسْتَحْسَن, then this is something that is approvable. And there are a lot of Sahaba who encouraged it. Ibn Abbas, Ibn al-Amr, Ibn al-As, Ali, Aisha, right? If that narration would have been authentically attributed to her. And like this. But to say that it's wajib, that becomes difficult. And if it's not wajib, and likewise, then there's no proof that there's necessary to take a wudu because of it. And if there's no proof that it necessitates a wudu or a ghusl, then it goes back to the default that if you believe the blood is najis, then you should wash it off. But if you don't believe the blood is najis, then you don't have to wash it off or do anything. And like this, we see all of the statements of the imams or the different sahaba and tabi'een in this issue. And like I said, when we get to this section in Al-Awsat, because this is one of the big issues, we'll see how the fuqaha used to approach this issue. But we've already mentioned the statement of Sheikh al-Shithri that there's nothing necessary because of it, and he views that to be the predominant view, and Allah knows best. And so we've mentioned that which is necessary because of the one who gets a hijamah, nothing, or wiping the traces of where you got hijamah done, or washing the traces of where you got hijamah done, or washing the traces of where you got hijamah done, as well as making a wudu, or even some of them say making a ghusl. And so like this, those are the views, and this would be our source material from the Salaf, from the Sahaba, the Tabi'een, the Atba' al-Tabi'een. You notice he doesn't mention Imam Malik, al-Shafi'i, Abu Hanifa, or Ahmed, because those are the Imams, and that's the Imams, they got their source material from these people. And so we're going to look back when we get to the books of fiqh to see how the Imams approached it, but this is that source material. And obviously the strongest source in this is that hadith that has a weak individual in it. The khulasa of what Ibn Hajar said about that individual, he said about that individual, Mus'ab ibn Shaybah, layyinul hadith, right? So he wasn't extremely weak, he was layyin, because you found some of the people said he was reliable. So if we can find some support, and we have some support from the Sahaba, right? But their statement isn't a proof in and of itself. And so if we can find some support from another hadith that is slightly weak or mursal or something like that, then you would see why some of the scholars would say that it is necessary to make a ghusl. And like this, we'll come across it when we come across it. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.